Guys, you got to point these things out wherever you see them. I can't help it. It's my job. Listen, let me demonstrate to you guys another reason why the Star Wars shill media hates the fandom as much as they do, or at least they're threatened by us, because we possess the ability to be able to point out certain things when they're trying so hard to legitimize Disney Star Wars and to craft this narrative that makes it seem like they are like the greatest innovators and stride makers throughout the history of Star Wars. All right, so what am I talking about? I'm talking about this article that I saw in Inverse, which is trying to somehow lift up the Book of Boba Fett, because as you know, a lot of us pointed out that last episode was incredibly lackluster, and one of the things that we pointed out as being like the most lackluster was the group of kids that was like riding around on hover rounds and how corny they were. Okay, so we have this article and I want to get into this, guys, so you can tell me, right, what they might be overlooking. Now, you saw the thumbnail, you already know where I'm going with this, but let's do it. This is the gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. All right, so like I said, we got this article here in Inverse, and they're trying so hard, so hard to show that the Book of Boba Fett is earning its spot in Star Wars history. So let's get into the headline here. And it says, Boba Fett is correcting the biggest prejudice in Star Wars history. Wow, now that's a humdinger. Boba Fett is correcting the biggest, the absolute largest prejudice in Star Wars history. Woo! We're in for something right here. It says, in 1981, the most misunderstood cyborg in all of Star Wars wasn't Darth Vader. Instead, a self-styled cyborg named Cligson lived in a place called, what else? Droid World. Okay, Cligson lived in Droid World. Now, this is not canon, so what are we talking about? But anyway, this is not canon, to be clear. But prior to the Book of Boba Fett, Cligson was the first voluntary cyborg in Star Wars history. Remember that, guys? He was the first voluntary cyborg in Star Wars history in 1981. In Droid World, in Star Wars at large, this kind of transhumanism or artificial augmentation has mostly been used to illustrate the negative quality of villains, but now, in the Book of Boba Fett, that trope is getting reversed for the better. In the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 3, The Streets of Mos Espa, Fett and Fennec Shan meet a gang of young folks on speeder bikes, more like hover rounds, like I said before, led by a woman. Of course it's led by a woman. It can only be a woman. I am woman! Named Drash, played by Sophie Thatcher. Drash. Okay. Quickly, Fett realizes these kids are, in fact, all right, and recruits them to work for him, rather than robbing the corrupt watermonger. Now, Twitter, aka you fans, you troublesome fans, might be obsessed with their brightly colored speeder bikes, but the most interesting thing about this gang is that they are all augmented with technology in some way, shape, or form. All right, listen, we're not obsessed with the brightly colored speeder bikes. But listen, I believe it was George Lucas who said, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe George Lucas said that he likes his universe and his world to feel like it's been lived in, okay? Nothing is supposed to look shiny and new. Everything is supposed to look beat up, damaged, like it's been through something, you know? Now, these gangs, they've been in the street, or we're supposed to believe they've been living that street life for a long time, right? Or they've been out there. So why do their bikes look so shiny and new, like you could see them on a carousel somewhere? That's basically what it looks like, you know what I mean? So it doesn't really like vibe with the overall feel of the Star Wars universe. That's what us fans are kind of citing when we talk about how it doesn't look like it belongs there. Not that we're just obsessed with shiny things. No, that's not it at all. All right, so it goes on to say, okay, so they're all augmented with technology in some way, and they're trying to, of course, connect this with the story of this other dude, Cligson, you know, as far as transhumanism is concerned. So it says, This notion intersects with the idea that within Star Wars, droids are basically slaves, a fact which was put front and center with L337s. Can we please forget that character ever existed? But for the sake of this article, L337's revolt in Solo, a Star Wars story. In feeling betrayed by the Empire, it makes sense from a certain point of view that one might gravitate more towards droids. In The Mandalorian, Mando's prejudice against droids is challenged in a similar way, making him realize that murder and betrayal aren't limited to just the actions of artificial life forms. In other words, more recently, Star Wars seems to be saying that no, a robot uprising is not coming, and if it does come, it will likely be benevolent. I don't know, what they're trying, what's the point here, right? But it says here anyway, the bridge to that more just galaxy could be these new, The bridge to that more just galaxy could be these new voluntary cyborgs. Not only do these younger folks want artificial augmentation, but as Scad says, they're proud of it. We've never actually seen this in Star Wars before. Wait a minute now, run it back. We've never actually seen this in Star Wars before, and it's refreshing as hell. Why do they always insist on doing this? They can make their point without making these general blanket statements about what Star Wars has never done before. This, my friends, is where you fuck up at. This moment in time right here is where you mess up. When you say you've never seen artificial augmentation in Star Wars before, and it's refreshing as hell. Making a villain look scary by presenting them as different or disabled is obviously a tired, obvious trope. By introducing us to Drash, Scad, look, who makes up these names? Drash and Scad. It reminds me of No Way Home. Are you in a band? That sounds like you're in a band. You're in an 80s hair band, Drash and Scad. And the gang, the future of cyborgs, and maybe droids too, is looking a whole lot brighter in the faraway galaxy. Oh, isn't that nice? So, in other words, we have the Book of Boba Fett to thank for breaking down the stereotypes of human beings who have been artificially enhanced with technology, because this is something that we've never seen in Star Wars before. Not ever. Now keep in mind, guys, I don't consider myself to be a Star Wars scholar. Not by any stretch of the imagination. I told you in the last video, I never got into the novels and the EU and things like that. But one thing I damn sure do know is that there was a character once before named, and say it with me, you saw the thumbnail, Lobot. Yes, Lobot. How many people out there when you were younger, I'm talking about my old heads now, had the Lobot action figure from Empire Strikes Back, which, by the way, came out in 1980. Okay, so they're saying that first character was from 1981. All right, so in 1980, we had a character named Lobot. Now, let's read from Wikipedia a little bit about Lobot. During the Galactic Civil War between the Galactic Empire and Alliance to Restore the Republic, Lobot, a male human from Bespin, was hired by the Empire to run battlefield calculations. In order to do so, he allowed the Imperials to implant a AJ-6 cyborg construct to his brain, exchanging some of his personality for increased productivity. In the time to come, Lando Calrissian became Baron Administrator of Cloud City on Lobot's homeworld of Bespin, and Lobot served as his aide-in-chief. As the city's computer liaison officer, his implants enabled him to communicate with the city's central network. During the Empire's takeover of Cloud City, Lando ordered Lobot to gather their security forces to outflank the stormtroopers, and the rest, as we know, is history. So there you have it, guys. Okay, now I'm sorry, Inverse. I'm sorry, whoever wrote that article. I'm sorry, all of you people who desperately need to make Disney Star Wars relevant, but they're not making the history that you try to act like they're making. And that's the beauty of Star Wars, that they refuse to acknowledge And that's that Star Wars has always been about diversity. This is not the biggest prejudice that you've ever seen in Star Wars. The fact that there haven't been any artificially enhanced human beings for good. All right, it's already been there, and it's probably been there even more. Like I said, I never read the EU and the novels. Someone can tell me if this exists also in the novels. Okay, but for someone with my limited knowledge, even I can point out that that's some bullshit that they're trying to put on us in order to legitimize Disney Star Wars. It doesn't work, okay? Let your story stand on its own, please, because it's embarrassing at this point. And that episode of Boba Fett was embarrassing. It wasn't making history. It wasn't making any grander point or anything like that. Okay? It wasn't beating out a path for pansexuals everywhere. It wasn't doing that. Okay? So the only thing these people can do to deflect from their creative bankruptcy is try to act like they're somehow historically relevant when they're not, okay? So I just wanted to point this out to you guys. If you have any other examples, you can let me know. I wash my hands of this situation, guys. Get in the comment section, have at it. As always, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe, you can catch me on Twitter, you can catch me on Rumble, you can catch me on Odyssey, you can just catch me, guys. Put on that mitt. I got it, 3 outs. But anyway, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you guys for listening. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on. Nice try.